the possible explanation for the way in which our Blessed Lady and St. Joseph did not realize that the child Jesus was not with the caravan is the tendency for Jews of the time to split into two, men and women. So it would make sense that one thought that he was with the other group. Be that as it may, he was about his father's business. It can also be translated in his father's house. But then he came back and was subject to them. And in that is contained a program of life for every child still under the authority of his parents. It is rather as in the monastic life, the will of God is manifested and easily discerned. One obeys. One cannot make a mistake in obeying. It's only on borderline cases where one has a command which is actually not according to the commands of God that one is free to withdraw obedience, because there's a higher obedience which enters into that. But one mustn't presume that one. The model of the family life is given in the first reading that we have from the Apostle. These virtues, which make for what John Paul II referred to as a domestic church. Listen to the list again. Put on, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, a heart of mercy, kindness, humility, meekness, patience. Bear with one another and forgive one another if anyone has a grievance against another. Even as the Lord has forgiven you, so also do you forgive. But above all these, have charity, which is the bond of perfection. And may the peace of Christ reign in your hearts. And then he goes on, show yourselves thankful. In the family life, that's important. Our present Holy Father insists on simple things like the 3 magic words in the family. Thank you, please, and sorry. St. Augustine insists that healing must come from the same source, the same fountainhead as came the wound. He's referring to the tongue. Never go to sleep in discord. Always hug each other to healing. The body is the language of the soul and can be its sacrament, and it can say far more than great loud protestations. The hug is the shortest distance between friends. Then he goes on inviting to a certain nobility of tone in the family. Rather than bawdiness, one tries to be edifying in one's words. This came to me fairly recently. It's Oriental. It's actually got Greek on the back of it, and only Greek practically. It's the Holy Family in Eastern iconography, and one notices how they are entwined in one circular movement of love, reflecting what is called circumincession of the Blessed Trinity itself. And that's what the family must do. The Trinity is relationship. It's one great circuit of love, and we must reproduce that. Now, people complain that a monk or a priest doesn't know an awful lot about family life. Well, I've got news for them. They do. Especially, actually, those who are in the enclosed monastic life, because the same dynamics exactly are at work. Where you've got human beings together in close proximity, 24/7, the same things come to the surface, and therefore the same means of healing are there. I've mentioned to you in the past how in the monastery the great healer was, yes, the sense of humor. Why? It brought things down. It made what was explosive less dramatic. It made lightness of what could be tragic. Because that's one of our great enemies in community life and in family life. Everything is important. Everything is cosmic. And for that, it's worth losing peace. Is it? Think twice before making an issue of the next issue. Because peace is also an issue. This morning, I was actually nearly moved to tears going back through some archives. And I would like to leave this with you because it concerns especially the little people and all those who still have their parents and are living with them. It's what we take for granted until it's too late. I was looking at various snaps which had fossilized a moment of time in family life over the years, because when one clears out a house, things come to the surface, as you know. And it's strange what a photo can do. It snaps and freezes a second forevermore. And one looks into the eyes of a person whose soul is no longer there. It's a strange message, actually, to look into the face of a dear person and not be able to reach that person. It can bring a jerk to the heart. One wants to touch again what is no longer there, and perhaps to say sorry and thank you. Think of that, my friends, before you take for granted your parents. They do a lot for you, and one tries to pay it back with little things which show that we're not taking them for granted. And when one looks back over the years, it's not the hugely dramatic that sometimes jumps into the memory, but the silly little things which made a family life a simple joy. For instance, out of a million memories, I remember how one time we were on top of Plimlimon and making a cup of tea with a gas stove. And I was admiring this performance, and my two parents were gazing in this position at this tiny stove on the top of the mountain until it boiled. And I was just looking at this with my camera, and I was behind my father, who was in that position, and Ma'am said, yes, it's even more beautiful from that side, so I did. And we froze the rear end of my father forevermore. Another time, we were in some continental country, because Dad and Ma'am being language teachers, we were always on the move in the summer holidays. And we had this tent with us. And my mother was very prone to getting bites. And in those countries, the bites are big, because the incense are big, and you get big bubbles. So she had these tablets, antihistamine tablets. And I was in the compartment, which was for the children, on the other side, listening to this performance going on next door. It went something like this. Where's the tablet? The tablet. The tablet. Rummage, rummage. The tablet. No, the tablet. Here's the tablet. No, the tablet. And then it went on, this performance about the tablet. Do you want me to say hi Mass over it? And then she ingested the tablet and was happy with herself. But that's the little things that come to the memory years afterwards, but they're what make the difference. Life is worth enjoying, my friends. Don't make an issue of something which takes away the joy. Joy is an art. Just as in the community it was the same. It was done with little things, the twinkle in the eye. Learn the secret of simple joys. But there's one more bit I want to leave it with you, and it's not just human, it's the humano-divine in the family. The father of a Christian family has the power of paternity from God the Father. The buck stops here. The head of the family has to have the last word, and before that word, eventually one needs peace, rather as the abbot has to settle a dispute. Otherwise, there's always civil war. But more than that, he has also a certain sacerdotal power for his own family. By ancient Christian tradition, the father of the family has the power of God the Father to bless. To bless, yes, with the sign of the cross, the table, and to bless his children. And he should do that every night. Remember that. It's the bit that actually links heaven to earth and is sacramental for your family, in the sense of sacramental. Just the other day, I was celebrating Holy Mass in the mobile home of a lovely travelling couple I know in the poorest area of Dublin, Ballymun. I was moved. I was moved by one thing which came out of our conversation. He said this, the good husband, who have lots of children, 9, all young. When my wife has migraine, I place my hand on her and pray over her. And she's always healed. We class the travelling people as category B. Learn to pray into your matrimony, into the sacrament of holy matrimony, you who are married. Learn that Christ is in the midst and wants to sanctify your home as a domestic church. And for that to happen, you must let him reign in that peace and joy and warmth of which St. Paul speaks.
It hurts. Dad's last sentence. This is the road o'er which no man returns, the lonely mile where voyagers have none to guide or point the way. For here each learns the ancient learning in this moment won by all who reached its rim. And this long sleep that in a breath undrawn begins to be into an unmarked cosmos doth now peep beneath these fastened eyes that all things see. Farewell, sweet face of care that held the world in safety while all rocked. Farewell, sweet gaze that shall not see again or hear a word from these receding shores of passing days. For though we may love well, 'tis well to know that we must hurt a little as we go. Tears. Dad's funeral. To know that there is music in the dark, to which we send thee on, good, kindest friend, and that e'en little beauties bear a mark of order, that some harmony doth send from very far away. To know that we move from a land of song to song's long home, and travel to where singing can but be, tapped onward by the aeon's metronome. This is to know well, behind a tear, that there is in a casket yet a shade of kindliness, a smile with something near to what our many masters have not made. For I can hear my Father in this song, and there moves o'er these rafters some strange throng.